Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of February the 3rd till 9th, 2025. We have quite an amazing, I think that's the best possible word to describe the week because yes, absolutely, the overtone of the energy stays pretty much the same, but it's intense, it is in a way conflictual. But these are the type of conflicts as ugly, as intense as I never ever thought type of energy that need in a certain way to take place because it is a necessary confrontation. The larger period is about truth in any way, shape, and form. Uranus' transit in its integrity from 2018, 2019, something like that, until the present moment, where in 2026 it will permanently enter into the sign of Gemini. However, we are speaking about Taurus right now, where Taurus is, as in a energetic expression, common sense. The primal, the real, the down to earth, natural nature, of course, Taurus, common sense. And Uranus really highlights that. And that common sense applies to everything in absolutely every area of our lives, from, let's say, Taurus. Let's start with economy and values and money and where the even the non-material values lie in life. So that's very easy to understand. Then the other expression of Taurus is that nature, whatever in whatever way we can apply nature, is never wrong. Nature holds the ultimate truth. So that means very, very many easy, natural solutions to anything really in life, from physical body illnesses, and that industry is really blossoming big time because nature, of course, has a solution to absolutely every problem, anything. But that also applies in non-earthly things. Because Taurus in a non-earthly, even though it's earthly, but in a non-earthly way, is our embodied beliefs, pretty much. When it already reached the earth, so it's executory. And in that sense, it can apply to what I said, beliefs. Beliefs have to be natural and have a common sense, right? So the way we can see this play out in the world stage, for example, besides the economic stuff, because that I'm not even going to speak about that because that's so obvious. The wokeism that's being in a way attacked, because that which is not common sense, natural, can only have a very small place in human culture and society, not a predominant one, right? So it's Uranus, that is Uranus. And this applies to spirituality. What type of worldviews, but from a very high, of course, spiritual perspective, are natural to who it is that we are, contrary to who it is that we aspire to be, right? This is the right type of aspiration, because if our aspiration actually meets reality, then it's good. It can only be good. It can only lead to something good. It can only be constructive, even if it's chaos, constructive chaos. The good fortune, the sheer good luck fortune is chaos. So it has really, really good sides. And it really applies to anything. So natural and relationships, Taurus, the five senses, even sensuality and, or let's say the word sex, even that is where returning to natural, which means rather than looking at a picture, why not embrace some real skin, right? Make it Taurus, make it real, but in a natural way, you know? As in, real means you don't need plastic, and Mother Nature gave everyone everything they need, so we don't need help in that sense. We don't need plastic stuff, and right? And of course, Mother Nature, location wise, offers So much diversity that I'm pretty sure everyone can find a good place, habitat. You know what I mean. So nature in any way, shape, and form. And that's Taurus. But that also implies strictly just in the inner cosmos. Who we are to ourselves, what it is that we do to ourselves. Because, as I said, Taurus is embodied faith. Non-embodied faith is, for example, it can begin with Libra, an ideal, Sag is champion, but Aquarius also has a good touch of ideal, but not necessarily in a faith or that type of way, in a different way. But then there is, of course, Pisces, which can truly bring the realm of surreal, and it doesn't need to make sense whatsoever. But Pisces is actually disciplined right now by Saturn being in it. And Saturn heading for Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, to dance up close and personal with Neptune. So besides what Saturn suffers, right? Because there's also a strong reality check, and let's not make it totally the realm of surreal fantasy. So Pisces is actually right now grounded, like it or not. So we have the more almost like a divine gift making Pisces as harmonious in a reality check type of way as it can possibly be. So Saturn's presence in Pisces is just a lock in that sense, a sheer lock. Because it is the other planets that, especially Uranus, that provides the reality check. Pluto and Uranus. And Uranus tells us, even in an inner cosmos way, so nothing to do with the external, be who you really are, who you feel you really are, but inner feeling wise, not you fooling yourself wise. And Neptune's conjunction with the North Node simultaneously is so important in this sense. Because what does that mean? The good dream. Because dreaming is powerful right now. And it's going to be for all of the year and all of next year. And anyway, so dreaming is a big, big, big power right now. An ultra, I can't even express how big it is, how powerful it is. And the North Node is the collective path forward, the destiny, right? But it's a lunar node, so it's always feeling. And together, their conjunction is really, really special because, and before I get there, Venus, if you can see on the screen, is also part of this configuration. Venus loves being in the sign of Pisces, so this is a very powerful Venus. What does this have to do with Uranus? Well, because Uranus is in Venus's home sign of Taurus, Venus is the disher out of the energy, so we feel it. And in Pisces, North Node, Neptune, Venus together, and Venus gonna go retrograde, so she's also on her shadow path. This is a strong reality check. The empowered dream, the true dream, the dream that is gonna take you personally, you who you are, you who you generate who you are, there. And you know that there means Aries when it's real. Many times, what we're doing wrong is dreaming the dream of others and not our own. Many times we think that our dream is similar to our of those of others, and this is where this is the biggest mistake, because it's really, really not. Everyone has a unique dream, and everyone loves something unique, and that uniqueness is going to be a key to their destiny. So many times we judge that. Exactly the most special part about us, we judge it. And I am going to give you an example right now because we need to understand this in a clear way. And an example from my own life, because I had this conversation with a good friend of mine that both of us, when, reading a book with a story or a movie or even, I don't know, cartoon or anime or whatever, we have a natural sympathy for the bad guys. Not necessarily that not in the sense that we support evil, in the sense that we want to see them redeemed and not suffer. And we don't see immediately the evil in them, but rather, and this is going to be so part of this week as well, that's why I'm using this example, the wound, right, which got them evil or in doing bad things or in trouble, or you know what I mean. And we can judge this, and we have very easily, because, well, what does this say about me? Why am I a weirdo? Am I not normal? Why do I feel this way? And this is immediately the biggest mistake, because why I feel this way has a very special story in my destiny. And it is not something that should be judged, and it doesn't have to come from a wound from this lifetime. And what would this do with my and her destiny? Because we were the ones conversing with it about this. Well, we will attract certain people in our lives who might be judged by the whole world, and we would be the only type of people who would offer them a friendly ear, an understanding, an embrace, a warm meal. You know what I mean? So this pattern, this energy that I exemplified right now is in all of us. We have and by Venus, certain sympathies, certain loves, certain attractions, certain that which should not be, must not be, could not be real, that's included. Because it's Pisces. It really, really doesn't have to be real. It can be pure fantasy or pure something in spirit, right? But accepting the self and accepting our dream, again, I have to reiterate, just like the Christ said, I am who I am, right? Uh, so your dream, your unique dream, who it is that you dream of, your existence, basically, your story, because it is your story that is your direct communication with the source, not anything. You just being who you are, that's why Christ said this, right? uh, is the phone line really, not the prayer and every practice that we do. It's so important and special, but that's not the phone line. That's just the uh, uh icons, the emotes. The phone line is you being true to everything in yourself in a Piscean way, right? As in within your contained microcosmos. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be real and live it. But still, your Venus is your Venus. So it has to be real to you. That's all that matters. And this is the alignment with your dream, the dream of who you are in this lifetime, in this incarnation, in this particular story, because that story is your message to the universe. That story is the power you have over the divine. What no faith really tells you is that you also have full power over the divine because the divine wants it to be that way. That's the gift. I must go back to Christianity. Also, some great disciple, I'm not exactly sure which one, said that, well, essentially all men, all human beings are born free. That's why he got in trouble for saying this. But is this not the greatest truth of any faith, that the divine's love means that we can have power, we are allowed, we are invited, right, to have power over it. But that's the life story. What our life says about us, about the world, about others, about family, about anything in life. But it is our life that is the speaker, not our tongue, not our voice, not even our art, not even our song, but the life in its integrity. Even that what you only do with yourself, your tears at night, hours and hours and hours in your comfort zone, may that be bed, chair, the park, forest, whatever, the lake. That's also a that's even more valuable part of the story than the active. But everything is your language. That's your real language. That's how you speak to the universe. So that's why prayer is 25% just, because you do need to negotiate there. You need to come with things you are proving to the universe. There are certain things it has to prove to you. There are the question marks, the journey. It's a very, very multi-dimensional, lateral relationship. It is a relation. But that's the reformist movement, Luther, Martin, or how you call him. Well, that's what he wanted to say, that it's a relationship, really. So you can generalize. Because every relationship is totally different. You are allowed to have whatever relationship you wish, feel like, desire, react to, whatever your story is, but you are really the boss in that sense. Now, the fact that we live in the modern society and we are limited, and the collective worships limitations and slavery. Well, that's not necessarily anything to do with the inner cosmos. So that doesn't matter. Okay, we can't live it, but that doesn't mean our truth isn't our truth. We just have to pardon the fact that we can't live it due to external factors, which we were born into. So, it is what it is. However, one of the ways where you own your life more and more and more and more, and the external can have less and less and less power over you, is exactly this: being true to your dream, being true to who it is that you truly feel you are, and not embracing as a truth the collective norm, or call it, or use whatever part of that which applies to your situation. So the external limitation. Well, Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, as we speak, of course, and very, very intense because it just went direct. Or it is going direct on the 4th of February. Yes. So on the 3rd of February, what you're seeing on the screen is still just standing still in the sky. Very amplified, very powerful. Jupiter is a planet of expansion. In Gemini, the duality, the typical, classical, all hated duality of Gemini. But Jupiter taught us a good lesson here, that we can play dual. There is our reality, our personal bubble, our sphere, our real cosmos. And that's so very powerful that our friends and families are sucked into it fully. Of course, we interact with theirs, but that's normal. And the external one is not necessarily more powerful than the bubble. But we have to exist outside of the bubble as well. So then we can step into those rules and regulations and norms and that role. And that is not hypocrisy. Neither is it bipolar. Neither is it split personality. It is simply adaptation, just like an amphibian. Well, the frog has a certain personality underwater, and on the surface, a certain. So, you know what I mean? It's not, speaking about the frog, the Pisces party, Venus, Node, Neptune, Saturn, and a handful of trans-Neptunian objects and asteroids and all of that. So yeah, Pisces is exactly the underwater. Gemini is exactly on the surface, the air. So this energy is literally written, we have to adapt. And but that also means accepting the fact that it's totally normal, natural, acceptable, down to earth common sense to be in a certain way in your inner cosmos and in your bubble, and to allow yourself whatever it is that you wish, and in the external to play a role, to play it. But anything in society is play based, so what do you mean? Of course you play it. Everyone plays it. Okay. The past, I don't know, maybe hundreds of years or even more, to be more accurate, did change things around in the sense that no one knows that it's a pretend, because we are educated that that's real and the inner cosmos is fake. Okay, there's that. But I do believe that in the present moment, Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, its big message in this 12-year cycle of it is that we're smart enough to not be deceived, or we're smart, we're just smart, we're smart, we can. And Jupiter is the planet of philosophy, the higher thinking, university stuff, right? But Gemini is the opposite of that, the down to earth immediate perception, the lower mind. So these two energies don't necessarily love one another when they're close, when they're in one another, so to speak. But this also has a lot of positivity to it, good side to it, because it teaches adaptation. It teaches that which should not be taken too seriously. Jupiter is the tumultuous. Gemini is what we want to make real. So if we stop playing a role and immerse into it, we get hurt, we get in trouble, we get burned out, we get, I don't know, one way or another bullied. That bully can be the self, right? It doesn't need to be another person. We attract strange relationships. And the only way life always saves us from this is by giving us a reality check that that's not real. What you feel in your heart is real. But this means different things for different people. For some, it's pause in a relationship. For others, it's a hospital visit. For others, it's an operation with general anesthetic which truly resets the brain. For other people, it's a philosophical something. For other people, still, they complete a study, a degree, and they need to step into the real reality of it, right? So this type of energy. So even though it's uncomfortable, it's the best teacher. Literally, Gemini is primary school, the best teacher. Anyone who had very strong, solid, and loving, if possible, primary school experience, chances were those individuals in higher levels of education were very enduring, resilient, and they could keep up. They were never ever behind because they had trained from very early age a strong common sense how to learn muscle. And that's so important. And that is what Jupiter is doing right now for all of us. And this energy. And I know I'm still on the 3rd, the very beginning, the 3rd of February, at the beginning of the horoscope, but this is mostly what all of the week is going to be about. And this is so very positive, even though it's uncomfortable. Because it is uncomfortable. But let's begin the positivity here. Because this is a rare opportunity. Because the friction between these blessings in the sky and the very negative, harsh, aggressive, fearful, and I could insert other words here as well, overtone, the friction between the two, that's the quantum, that's the divine energy, that's the lightning, that's the every. Like, let me give you an example. For the Celts, if a tree was struck by lightning, of course it got a bit damaged and burned a little bit, but it survived. That tree was immediately considered sacred and it had special powers, and people identified this. The same thing when there is friction, when there is tension, when there is very strong opposition. In our case, more like square energy, right? But anyway, and retrograde energy, Mars retrograde energy, that really, really colors the tone with the passive aggressiveness and the I can't bear it anymore. I reached my limits. That's the overtone. But these blessings this week are gonna act like a cosmic or quantum or call it whatever you want, canon, pushing us forward in one or more areas of our life. And it really doesn't matter if this energy is real, material, physical, actual, or just some, even if just some feeling, because this is gonna be so important. So let's begin. The first blessing is Mercury trine Jupiter. Remember what I said a few minutes ago about Jupiter not liking Gemini? Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and because of this trine, we actually get the best, the highest possible expression of Jupiter in Gemini. So even though in itself it's uncomfortable, we get the energy as if it would be comfortable. And the other good news is the disher out of this energy is actually Mercury himself. And Mercury loves Aquarius. And Aquarius is also mostly other people. Jupiter and Gemini, well, help, communication, connection, blessing, goodness, generosity, compliments, words, anything that has to do with the flow of information, being a blessing, connects people, unites people, help is there, good advice is there. Yes, we can. Yes, you're hired. Would you like to come to this job interview? So you didn't even get to the phase where you sit down and start Googling jobs or looking at the newspaper with jobs. You're not even there. You're just thinking about it. And the next day, the job comes to you. You didn't even lift a finger. This blessing can actually do that. Something comes to you, or someone finds you. This is the type of energy where it's impossible. The impossible happens. And again, I'm so sorry to use my own personal life, but it happened to me today. So I was at the bus stop, and coincidentally, I met my very, very first professional mentor, not in astrology, but law, mentor in my life. You know, the classical apprenticeship. I never in a trillion, billion years would have thought to ever meet that guy ever again. And when we met, of course, he also had so very memories with me and thought about me and remembered me. So we didn't even know when we lived my apprenticeship, that we actually had such a strong emotional impact on each other in a positive way, of course. Because many people usually get the opposite, sadly. The negative trauma, their first boss, their first teacher, their first whatever, traumatizes them really, really badly. So the impossible meeting him meeting me, because this was totally, he wanted, maybe he manifested me more than me him. I don't know. But and coincidentally, he moved to his daughter, who is a few blocks away from me. So anyway, um, this can happen to anyone. This is the type of energy that we're going to be speaking about. For me, it is past energy, right? But you can apply, this is more futuristic than past, to be totally honest. Why was it past energy for me? Jupiter, stationary. So that when it's stationary, it's still from the, how should I explain this? It's not retrograde, but it still speaks about the past, even when it goes through its shadow path direct. So that's why for me personally, it brought the past. But for you, Aquarius, very, very futuristic. It can be someone who is going to be very relevant for your future, or someone from the present, but the relationship gets stronger, better. Help is out there. This is the main message of this energy. However, it's not just Mercury that trines trines Jupiter, but also the Sun. It, could it get any better than this? And I know you're gonna say that the Sun is not so comfortable in the sign of Aquarius. It's a bit so and so, not as shiny, but that's not necessarily bad in any way, shape, and form, because it's there in the community, collective, internet, even. There are certain moments when the internet can be so very, very positive and do good, do miracles. There's this moment, these moments, and you can imagine that Pluto is long term for the next 19, 20 years in the sign of Aquarius. Anything that is going on in air sign, for example, Gemini and Libra, and it will trine Pluto in these years, in the following 20 years. That's really good. That is when we get the good. That is when we get the nice part of technology, the community, people, interconnectedness, anything Aquarian, politics even. Why not? Because Aquarius in mundane astrology rules politics. Maybe what I said might be very hard to believe right now in this present moment, because no, politics is crazy. But as I said, in the next 20 years, so there is still hope. Hope, Aquarius, is the sign of hope. The star in tarot, the star card is Aquarius. But hope is really there in the sky. We don't need the sun trine Jupiter to be hopeful, optimistic. This is also beautiful communication and siblings, neighbors, even how do you say that? Soul siblings. There's a lot of good there. There's a lot of help. There's a lot of love, right? Venus in the sign of Pisces. There is a lot of love in the air. And going forward, the moon is conjunct Chiron also on this 3rd of February. So that's very powerful in the wound sense. We're really, really going to be feeling the wound, the self wound. However, the healing energy of Venus and the nodes and Neptune is really going to contribute to perhaps releasing pain, releasing tension, releasing pressure. So this can be a really, really good energy for anything that's healing related of any type, physical or any. And we also have something even better than all of this. a trine which is fading, waning between Mars and Saturn, but it's there. And still on this 3rd of February, strongly there. That's the reality of it. That's the power of solidarity, community, home, protection, feeling safe, being made to feel safe in your life or whatever that means to you. Love, good things from the past, good things from family, good things from psychological purges and healing and speaking certain things out, changing the way we react. So this is a really, really good energy, all in all. Now, finally, let's move on to 4th of February. This is important because Venus enters the sign of Aries, but I repeat, she'll go retrograde, so she'll come back to Pisces. She'll go retrograde in March, somewhere mid-March if I'm not mistaken. But she is still going direct, so ingressing in the sign of Aries, a part of the sky where she's not her most, let's say, innocent and disciplined and contained self, because in Aries she's nicknamed the slaughtery Venus. She's free, unbound, the head. The Venus can be interpreted as the lustful head, like even in nature. Like actually, Aries is the ram, right? A lustful ram. Well, that's what we get here. And the fact that the ruler of Aries, Mars, actually is retrograde in the sign of a Cancer, that's not necessarily good news. Because we have Venus with the energy of the lustful ram, but Mars in the sign of Cancer is not someone who expresses anything. So it's passive. It's not very nice in a hormonal way. Because it's not the classic lust. It's the lust which is frustration and you don't understand it. You don't have any intention to do anything with it. You just don't want to feel that way. So that type of energy. But other than that, in a bit, let's say when it squares Mars, it can be quite beneficial because it's confrontational energy, but in a realistic way. In why do I say that it's not so bad? Because Mars's job in the sign of Cancer retrograde is exactly to distill one's own toxicity, as into let's get real. Let me not give back more pain that I received. Let me not attack first. Let me try to be civil, sane, contained, fair, righteous, non-toxic. And then Venus in Aries is confrontational, and which means the emotional response is real, fair, proportionate, direct. It does something good. And of course, Mars himself is squaring Chiron. So of course the wounds are open very, very much. We are not ignoring that element either. But yeah, that just makes the hormonal part of the week very bad. So health-wise, it might not be very nice. But then again, we all already know that due to the South Node, doing certain activities with Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Virgo. That's diseases, epidemics, flu, and other stomach, digestive tract, sensibilities, IBS, Crohn's. It's a tough year in this sense. I'm so sorry to say. It's a tough year. Allergies. Yes. Anything that has to do with vitamin D, vitamin K, All of those are in the, how should I say, repertoire of Virgo. And the fourth is important also in the sense that it is the day when Jupiter stands still in the sky and prepares to go direct. So we're going to feel the Gemini. We're going to feel the power of speech, communication, information. Of course, we're going to be overwhelmed and stressed out and irritated and regarding news and what's going on in the world stage and the world of politics. You can't believe anything, but we're going to be flooded. However, Mercury trines Jupiter at this exact moment, which does add a lot of good news, good communication, good feedback, praises, appreciation. Yes, we can. It's possible. So, yeah, there is help. Let me help you. How can I help you? There is a solution. Don't despair. Hope. Real hope. Okay, I must say this. I'm so sorry. Jupiter always, in any way, shape, and form, can come with inflated hope. Too good to be true. But the trine means that at least part of that is real. It still can disappoint though, right? So expectations are not advised. But without expectations, it is a real blessing because something is real from any promise or any good news, right? Now, moving on to the 7th, let's jump forward. The 7th is special because, on one hand, we have a conjunction between Mercury and the Sun. Whenever this takes place in any sign, any way, shape, and form, it's always a truth aspect. Mercury is combust, on fire. So words, communication, technology, information, something on the internet, community, collective, and this can also be a rebellious energy. Because later on, not this week, the week that follows, we have a full moon in the sign of Leo, and it T-squares Uranus. So that's rebellion, that's revolution, but that is being set up right now. So something is on fire, something hits news big time, and that can be aviation, because Jupiter, stationary aviation. But we already, as Jupiter started to go to a slowdown in the United States, the aviate air disaster, and there might be more that follow. That's the truth of it, because Uranus in itself is very extreme. It just barely went direct, but it's not moving yet, so it's just standing, right? So that's extreme. And the accidents and all, and Uranus has a lot to do with aviation. Uranus is the ruler of the technology that flies, right? The technological part is ruled by Uranus, and the GPS and all of that as well, and co-ruled by Mercury, if the GPS. But yeah, we can see that play out even more and in even more extreme fashion. And earthquakes and calamity and anything that can erupt may erupt during this week, because both of these planets energize the uncertain, the hazard, the chaos of it, right? So it's not very pleasant from this perspective. But we can imagine that all of this is the news. There we go, the Sun conjunct Mercury. This is also very on in our personal lives as well. A communication, a news, something. Something comes and shocks us, or is gonna shock us when we get to the full moon, Or maybe it shocks us, and it is the full moon that is our response to it, because Leo's heart energy. And Uranus in Taurus is value, the truth of it, but sometimes we need to process. For example, the job invitation interview, or the job comes to you. Okay, but you're not gonna say yes there, and maybe some people might, but some people will think it through. Did this really happen to me? Am I capable of what they offered, etc., etc.? That's all included in this conjunction. So there's that. But besides this, on one hand, Mars perfected his trine with Saturn on the 7th. Reality is there in a good way. Something stabilizes, crystallizes. Whatever Mars retrograde from basically December last year until the present moment meant for you, Mars-wise action, willpower, energy, physical energy, drive, sex drive, even potency. That's also Mars. In the sign of Cancer, family, real estate, home, house, redecoration, all of that planning is included here. Because sometimes Mars doesn't, especially because it's retrograde, doesn't mean immediately, but it means making it real for you. I am gonna be doing this 100% at this date or whenever it's possible. That is willpower, managing your willpower. That is very, very much included here. Just that it's not necessarily a mercurial energy. However, it still is. But we'll get to this in just a second. In the sense that date, time, but it's rather will energy that I am gonna do it. I will do it. I must do it. I have the strength. Or I need to muster the strength. So yeah, this is gonna be a big, big part of everything. And this Mars, besides the trine to Saturn, which I repeat is the reality. I can do it. The dream, the whatever makes sense. Karma. This week is very karma. That's why I'm even mentioning examples where only karma can do that. For example, me meeting my first mentor in life. That was 2008. No, sorry. 2009. And 2009 is very relevant in the sense that I do believe the nodes were in this position last. Or was it Jupiter? Anyway, one of these two. So karma is really, really, really working right now in any way, shape, and form. Even in the creation, even what people say dharma, it's very much at work. Synchronicity, coincidences, all of that with Mercury conjunct the Sun, fated events, fated communication, big words. So where I want to get with this, Sun and Mercury together also hold an in conjunction a quincunx with Mars. Quincunx is exactly that, the weird, the random. I never in a million trillion years would have thought. I never expected this. This just happened. This will bring the total shock, the total surprise. Unfortunately, for some few people, this can also mean news that is very Cancer, tearful, sad, heartbreaking at first. But then it's the best thing that could have ever happened to them. However, the quincunx is this, where it's not really what it seems at first. Or it's highly uncomfortable, stressful, weird, awkward, surprise, surprise, but not always in a favorable way. And it's still the best thing that could have happened. So, yeah. Neptune is also on this day conjunct the North Node. Remember what I said about the dream? The alignment? the divine orchestrating things from within us. This is the type of energy where people are really just messengers of God, angels, benefactors, channels for the spirit when they are miracle workers, right? People, the spirit of communion, Christ consciousness, the magic of reality, the power of with Venus. But okay, Venus at this moment already is in the sign of Aries, but she still holds an outer sign conjunction with all of this. So she's still there. And even better in a certain way in the sign of Aries, because it's the first breath, it's reality, right? Uh, all the good, the magic, compassion, miracle. I have a dream. I have a desire. And this can even mean dream, prophetic dream. Whenever Mercury conjuncts the sun, Apollo, the prophecy. Because Apollo was the deity that negotiated quite a lot with prophets and oracles and seers. Seers were big, not always friends, but associates one way or another with Apollo, always. And Mercury the messenger. So it's gonna be very, very active, very, very on. Even literally dreams, visions. Aquarius is the sign of the future. Aquarius is the sign that plans for the future. Aquarius, as life cycle, is retirement. But it is exactly retirement when the plans come together, if you know what I mean, because retirement was planned from the very beginning of the work life in modern age. So it is really, really plan and planning and future vision based. That's why it's retirement age. Um, so it's so important. It's so powerful, even in the sense that I just said earlier. Plans come together. Okay, we are in a karmic period, so plans come together favorably or maximizing the good if we align it with the inner feeling, the mojo, the do or don't, the timing, patience, sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears, acceptance, surrender. Okay, this, admitting painful truths. Yeah. But it's on. Karma is really, 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 really on. And to top this up, the moon in the sign of Gemini trines. Remember anything in Gemini, Mercury is the disher out. Trine, moon, emotion, Gemini mind, siblings, others, help out there. We're not alone. Yep. And on the 9th is when the Mercury conjunct Sun, the Cazimi perfects, if I'm not mistaken. And after all of this is setting up the full moon in the sign of Leo. So this week is a setup for that. And I must reiterate that that full moon is gonna be tensionate, shocking, surprising. It's gonna provoke a very strong heart-based reaction. Regardless in which it can be very positive, good surprise. The shock of your lifetime in a good way. That doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't even if you win the lottery, Uranus in the sign of Taurus, very somewhere it will be that. I can guarantee it. Because Uranus in Taurus is that type of shock for some people. That's not easy. There was even a case where the winning itself killed the person. They could not process the emotion and they had suffered a heart attack. So, you know what I mean? It's gonna be shocking. And this week is setting us up. So actually the Kazimi, the Mercury conjunct Sun, but Mercury conjunct Sun, I mean all of the week really, most of the week, not just a specific date. It's so important because that is when we align mentally to something that is very, very useful, helpful, realistic, and the best dream idea or whatever for us personally. So, with this being said, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for all your love, all your comments. Thank you for everything. And I think I'm gonna also feature this one on Rumble because I was suggested that site. I don't know anything about it. So if you guys think it's not a good idea, please tell me because I'm not very knowledgeable with the internet and stuff like that. So if I'm uploading my work in a bad place, please tell me. So I'm trusting you guys. So thank you everyone. Until next time, bye for now.